Hello everyone, and welcome to the Malaysian race review. In the background we have an online sprint race on F1 2012 on the Malaysian circuit, but I'm not even watching it, so I won't be commentating at all on that one, just concentrating on the real life race that of course happened yesterday. So starting then as ever with championship order from last year, so Red Bull then, a lot of controversy surrounding them, wasn't there? With Vettel overtaking Webber towards the end of the race when he was specifically being told not to. I think this has been brought over a little bit, to be honest, but it certainly wasn't great. Of course, Webber has done it in the past to an extent, but I don't think he's ever really succeeded, has he? When he's been told to stay behind, he's never actually managed to get past. But of course, Vettel did get past, and it was for a race win as well. So it's an interesting issue. For me, the biggest issue is the fact that Webber was told, back off, turn the engine down, take it easy, cruise to the end. Vettel will not overtake you. And then, of course, next thing you knew, Vettel was alongside him. So that's the biggest issue for me, is that Webber just wasn't ready for it, and of course he wouldn't have been expecting him to overtake him. So for me, that's not great. And of course now he's going to have trust issues, not only with Vettel but with the team, because of course it was them that were telling him it, not Vettel. So of course Vettel's in trouble in the naughty corner somewhat. Of course, he will probably have some sort of sanctions put on, perhaps a pay cut or something like that. I don't really know how it works in the Formula 1 world with drivers, since he's getting quite a few million a year, I should imagine. But yes, very naughty indeed, and I should think actually he won't be the most favourable driver in China. He might even get a few boos on the podium or whatever. I think he got a few boos last week in Australia, so an interesting one. But anyway, they both 4 stops. There's quite a few stops. That does, of course, include the beginning of the race, which was wet, which I almost forgot. This felt like so long ago by the end of the race. Of course, it started wet, and then they pitted for dry tyres on lap, I believe it was 6. So that was a 4-stop race for them, including that. Moving on then to Ferrari, of course, Fernando Alonso retiring very early on just the second lap after he touched Vettel. It was only a small touch, quite surprising that he damaged his front wing, but he still did. Touched Vettel on the sort of second corner really on the opening lap, and damaged his front wing, so it's scraping along the floor. He broke one of the pillars, and just hanging on by one pillar, which is always going to break, wasn't it really? It was actually, interestingly, Ferrari's call to keep him out. I don't know what Alonso was saying about it, but he's not really in a position to comment since he can't see it. But Ferrari actually said, stay out, Alonso, do not come in. Presumably they were trying to wait until the crossover for the dry tyres. But interesting choice there, and of course a choice that meant Fernando Alonso went out and nearly took out Webber, actually. Surprised he didn't. So interesting point there, but I'm sure he'll be back fighting fit in China. Massa then, once again, 4-stop race. He tried to do a 3-stop, but had to give up on it towards the end. It just wasn't quite working out for him, but he still managed a solid 5th place, so fair play to him, pretty good, behind the 2 Red Bulls and 2 Mercedeses. Moving on to McLaren then, so Jenson Button, of course, had to retire in the end. He had that pit stop, and the front right wheel wasn't quite fitted right, was it? And apparently the light went green for a 10th or 2 of a second, which obviously is nothing in real world terms, but Button reacted to it, drove off, and then unfortunately, of course, the wheel was loose and he had to stop further down the pit lane. They did manage to get him back out actually, but the excuse they gave for him to retire, since he wasn't going to store any points, was they had a vibration, but that's more because they just had to give an excuse so that they could replace things ready for the next race. But there we go. Disappointing for him. He looked like he was solid for 5th, possibly even a podium, you reckon, but a bit disappointing. But McLaren certainly looked stronger. So Perez then did do a 4-stop race. I think Button was on 3-stop as well, but of course didn't work out. Perez did a 4-stop race then. He did his last, again he was on 3-stop, but he did his last stop pretty much just because he could. He was overtaken by the car that was directly behind him, couldn't catch up with him, and then there was about 20 or 30 seconds to the next car, so we thought we must pit, free pit stop, get a brand new set of boots, and with that he also got the fastest lap of the race. So half decent performance from him, but 9th place isn't really great considering Button was nearly up on the podium. So still, I'm not too sure about him. I've been tweeting quite a bit during the races lately. I did tweet about Perez, possibly the wrong choice. I think we need to wait until Spain really to be able to judge him, but it's not looking great. He's looked fairly fundamentally average really, hasn't he? He's not looked great at all, so we'll see how that one plays out. Lotus then, so of course after that win last week from Kimi Raikkonen, a bit of a disappointing race really by comparison. They were 6th and 7th. Grosjean was actually the leading Lotus this race. Both did 3 stops. Raikkonen was battling with Hulkenberg for much of the race of course, and he wasn't very happy about that, was he? He had a bit of a touch of wheels, but I think it was all fair, to be honest. Well, it was a bit interesting, but it's all fair. Of course, Raikkonen had that 3-place grid drop as well in qualifying, didn't he, for impeding, I think it was Rosberg. Interesting amount being number 3, but I think that was just so that he was 10th, as in, a bit like same as he didn't compete. Start that again, shall I? It's virtually as if he didn't compete at all in quali 3, so he was 10th, so fair enough on that one, but interesting performance from them. Mercedes then, of course, third and fourth, fantastic race from them. As I suspected, they have got a strong pace and they look after the tyres reasonably well. 4 stops from both of them, same strategy as Red Bull, and I think with a bit more fuel they could have won it, both of them. I think it could have been a Mercedes 1-2 to be honest. I think they just about had the pace over the Red Bulls. Not by loads, but by just enough. I would say they probably would have done it. But unfortunately, of course, they underfueled the cars a bit too much, probably expecting a bit more rain, and couldn't quite make it to the end, so they had to heavily conserve fuel. And of course, similar controversy with them as well, apart from Rosberg actually did what he's told. Total fair play to Rosberg, complete respect for him. He's obviously got a lot of respect for the Mercedes team and Ross Brawn, but everyone in the team and everyone outside the team really honestly believes that it would have been the same the other way around with Lewis Hamilton behind. I don't think it's any sort of favour to Lewis Hamilton, but fair play to him because he was clearly quicker. Sauber then, Nico Hülkenberg and Esteban Gutierrez, so they both did 4 stops and they finished, where did they finish? 12th for Gutierrez, and there he is, 8th, so a few points there for Hülkenberg. Again, he had quite a long battle with Raikkonen, but ended up losing out to him, was about 5 seconds back from him in the end. Reasonably solid performance, but Sauber just haven't really got too much pace, have they? Force India then, of course, they both had to retire, didn't they, after they stacked the cars in the pits. And then Adrian Sutil had that front left, I believe, oh no, was it rear left? One of them, left-hand side wheel issue, and it's actually a wheel nut issue. They've gone to a new captive nut, they call it, like McLaren's got, so the nut's already in the wheel when you put the wheel on, and that just failed, and they just didn't really work out for them, did it at all. And I think they actually retired the rester on safety grounds just because they weren't sure that the wheel was fully on. So interesting one there, but they both had to retire. I expect them not to have that issue again, but they were looking very strong, weren't they? Again, fantastic pace from the Force Indias. I'm expecting them to be very strong this year. We went to Williams then. Of course, Pastor Maldonado did retire. He had a KERS issue and he was just slow anyway. I think they retired it for the sake of it. Valtteri Bottas did a 3-stop and winded up coming home in 11th, so just outside the points. Average race for him. He's the last of the finishers on the first position lap. I think we know how to word that. Toro Rosso then, Daniel Ricciardo with another exhaust issue, same as he had in Australia, or similar. Another exhaust issue anyway, so he had to retire unfortunately. And Jean-Eric Verne did a 3-stop race and came in 10th, so got a single point for Toro Rosso. Looking okay for them. Caterham then, Charles Pic, 4 stops. Guido van der Garde also 4 stops. Fairly average race from them. Pic was ahead, and they were both a lap down, so both behind though of Marussia. Jules Bianchi, they were both behind him, and Max Chilton was the last of the finishers, actually 2 laps down. Both did 4 stops. So an interesting race all in all, and I've got a few more videos coming for you between the next couple of races, but I'm certainly looking forward to China, where hopefully we'll have completely dry, at least qualifying, so we can get a good idea of the race and hopefully of the pace rather, and hopefully we'll have a dry race as well, because I think Mercedes are looking particularly strong. I might even tip them for a win in China, depending on the developments between now and then, of course. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.